You got Cop City money. That's what we should be telling anybody who's building a Cop City in your neck of the woods. If you have leaders who are dumb enough to approve a facility designed for bullying you, even though they're supposed to be your voice in government, and they somehow manage to find millions of dollars. They can't find $3 million to build a new bridge, but they can find $55 million to train thugs from out of town on how to beat your ass as efficiently as possible. How to make fights so wildly unfair. We're not, look, I got to issue a correction. Oklahoma actually has dueling rules. I can't believe it. But we're not talking Oklahoman dueling rules, which, by the way, I think is rad. And I'm going to push for in Michigan because there's a lot of right-wingers that I feel would change their tunes if such a thing were put on the table. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Cop City training. We're talking about how to round up protesters and get as many of them as possible in jail. We're talking about how to be fascists. How do you take a regular police force, like the Bobbies in Britain, and turn them into a paramilitary organization, turn them into a strong arm for whatever fascist is in power? Well, you train them at a Cop City. Now, you might be thinking, a Cop City? I was only aware of the one in Atlanta. Nope. Letterhack interviewed a guest recently who brought to our attention this tragedy. This is where there are such training facilities being built or already built. An interactive map, by the way. Link is in the description. We're surrounded. Note, they're not building them in the middle of Wyoming. They're not building them where there are no cities to storm. Got one near Denver. They're in states where there's lefties to bully, in a concentrated area. Tells you a lot about what their plans are for these. What can you do? Thank the good Lord, I don't have to do all the work on this. Matt from the what's that one channel? The Letterhack. He already did it. Let's have a gander.
Wrote up my notes the first time for the National Lawyers Guild presentation, and the person who was putting together the webinar was like, here, I'm going to send you the notes. And he wrote back and he said to me, what do you think about adding some next steps? What should people do? And I was like, you know what? That's actually a really good suggestion. Let me go ahead and add those notes. And what I really want to encourage people to do is to not get discouraged, right? It is
real quick, the volume is what the volume is. Usually if people are out there doing fighting the good fight, they don't have podcaster microphones, and we just got to deal with that. But let's listen to the message nonetheless. I'll try to boost the volume if I can.
It's very easy to be like there's nothing we can do. This is just going to be a disaster, and we'll just ride it out and hope we all survive. And you can certainly take that stance, right? I, however, think that all of these places present a window of opportunity for that community, right? You can, even if a place has been built and it's open, right? You can go through the exact process because it's all public, right? Once it's open, it's all public. These are all things that the city has gotten together with whoever they got together with, and they decided they were going to ask for a bond for this much money. They were going to spend this much. They were going to put out the bids. You can watch the entire process play out from start to finish. And you now have proof that your city council is willing to spend this much money to give police somewhere to play, right? So now you can take that exact process and bring it to your city council and say, well, you've spent this for the cops to play. How about we spend all of this to give the kids a place to play?
They call us extremists because we want universal health care.
Right.
But look at the billions and billions of dollars that are going to be spent on this.
Right.
That's a good point.
And there is nothing, grounds broken. There are plenty of places that started out with one plan and ended up with a different plan.
I think look at all of the abandoned strip malls in this country.
Right.
I mean, why couldn't these so-called training facilities just end up empty?
Right. Or,
who cares?
I don't know, use them for a school.
Yeah, or like a museum or something. Yeah, right. Exactly.
There are other things that you can do no matter where the process is. And what I'd like people to kind of take from it is an opportunity to fight for something that your community actually needs. Because the reality is, whatever they spent or used to provide this thing that they're either in the process of doing or planning to do or whatever have you, there's definitely something that your community needs that's more important.
Such a fantastic point. What have I done? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, such a fantastic point. Wholeheartedly agreed. No matter what their excuse is, and it is just going to be an excuse. No matter what their excuse is for building this thing, there's other things that ought to be built first. There's more pressing issues. At the end of the day, ask the people. Look on this map. And ask the people who approved such a thing in your neck of the woods. And I'm looking on there. They're near you. Ask them, if you've got Cop City money, why not spend an equal amount on something that actually helps us? Instead of spending $55 million, $60 million, $70 million on a facility to brutalize your constituents, how about you spend that amount of money on something that will help us? Not just the money, but the land. You found money and land to train a hit squad. Give us an equal amount of money and land to house the poor. Build houses, make them free. You're homeless no longer. Now you can live there. That's of use to people. That will actually stop crime because we've criminalized being poor. So good. That'll solve a whole lot of crime right there. No one's skull need be caved in. By the way, she said it's a place for cops to play. Let's look at 102 acres approved under my nose on my watch last year in the state of Michigan. Click on that. Oh, brutal. Well, here's the spreadsheet, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to click on that in a separate tab. Give me a moment. This is the lab training center.com. What that links to. This is the facility being built in Jefferson Township. Why, it includes the labyrinth. A whole lot of space for parking. A sniper tower. 635 yards. So this person's property in the top left, it can go just over that wall and blow the brains out of their child. Can you imagine living in this road? You live in that house in the top left. This place gets built, and all day you hear the sounds of thugs breaking down doors, shooting off guns, and generally just playing soldier. Having a ball. For that to exist, you are taxed extra. And now you know that if you ever speak out against your government, those people at that giant, vicious playground are going to swarm you. Do you really want that in your neck of the woods? I would hope not. If not, write the people in charge of this. Tell them you got Cop City money. Now I expect you to invest an equal amount of land and money to build housing for the poor. Or whatever strikes your fancy. Anything other than a Cop City. Ask them with the expectation. Ask your city council what project they plan to invest as much money and land into to actually make people's lives better. And when they admit they weren't planning on working for the people, have a suggestion ready. I say housing for the poor. You say whatever you want. Just make sure that this crap doesn't go unanswered. At the very least, we can make it expensive for them. Guilt trip the bastards.